In this video, we're going to learn about some of the important pediatric developmental milestones. Starting off with 2 months. I don't know about you, but to me, 2 has always looked like a very smiling figure. So at 2 months, child develops social smile. And what do you mean by social smile? Well, if you smile at a child, the child will smile back at you. That's called social smile. Moving on to 6 months. Well, 6 does look like a stick figure with a face and a very smooth back and a very big belly. So imagine this stick figure of 6 sitting against a wall. So at 6 months, a child can sit with support. Also, this stick figure with a very smooth back and a very big belly, do you think that it will be comfortable lying on its belly? No, I don't think so. If you lie the stick figure on its belly, it'll push on the belly and it'll not be very comfortable position to be in. So if you place this stick figure on its belly, it'll roll back to a more natural position of lying on its back. So at 6 months, the child has the ability to roll over from belly to its back. So at 6 months, the child sits with support and the child can roll over. And this is an important milestone, by the way. At 6 months, the child will start rolling over and the child can actually roll over the bed and fall off the bed. So at 6 months, you have to be, really cautious about that. Moving on to 8 months, we all had this roly poly toy. Whenever you would push this toy over, it'll just bounce back. So all of these toys were in the form of eight. So at 8 months, a child can sit without support. Even if you push the child over, the child will bounce back. So at 8 months, a child sits without support. Moving on to 9 months. At 9 months, a child can hold things between the index finger and the thumb, just like this figure. And I don't know, does this not look like 9 to you? Well, it surely does. So at 9 months, a child has the ability to hold things between the index finger and the thumb, and that's called pincer grasp, just like the pincers of a crab. Also, at 9 months, a child waves bye bye to the uterus, 9 months of intrauterine life. And at 9 months of extrauterine life, a child says bye bye to the mother. So at 9 months, a child can wave bye bye to the mother. So at 9 months, child waves bye bye and says the first words ever, that is mama. Also, if you flip 9 over, it looks like P. So at 9 months, child can play peekaboo. So at 9 months, we have pincer grasp, child can wave bye bye and say mama, and the child can play peekaboo. Moving on to 10 months. Well, this one does look like a stick to me. So at 9 months, a child can stand with a stick. If you take that stick away, the child will literally be zero. So at 10 months, a child can stand but with support. And if you're standing with support, you better be crawling as well. So at 10 months, the child can stand with support and the child can crawl as well. 12 months, well, one looks like a very stable figure with a very broad base. So one is a very stable thing. So one can stand without support. Even if you try to toss one over, it will not fall down. So 1 year, a child stands without support. 15 months, well, 5 looks like an S, and S looks like a snake. So at 15 months, a child can crawl up the stairs just like a snake. 18 months, well, at 18 years, you become adults. At 18 months, a child acts like adults. So it'll copy you doing your daily household chores like brooming the floor. And also, at 18 months, at 18 years, you become adults and you become independent. So at 18 months, a child would walk independently. Also, does 8 not look like a spoon to you? Well, it surely does to me. So at 18 months, a child tries using a spoon and drinks from a cup. Moving on to 2 years. At 2 years, two-let training starts. So at 2 years, toilet training starts. Also, 2 looks like a spring to me. So if you jump on a 2, 2 will just bounce you back. So at 2 years, the child will be able to jump on 2 feet. And also, what will the child jump onto? Of course, the stairs. Children love stairs. So at 2 years, the child can walk up and down a stair, but with one step at a time. Just like, just imagine a child jumping on the stairs. 3 years, a child knows three very important things: his name, his age, and his sex. Also, at 3 years, child can drive a cycle with three wheels, that is a tricycle. Also, if you bisect 3 right in the middle and then just flip this thing over, it'll look like a circle, will it not? So at 3 years, a child can draw a circle. And also, that whenever children play at 3 years, they like to not engage among each other. So they'll not interact while playing. So, they'll just keep it to themselves. So at 3 years, a child can draw a circle, and when they play, they tend to remain in those circles. They don't, interact with each other during their playtime. So at 3 years, children will do something called as parallel play. That is, they'll be playing together in that same room but will not interact much. Moving on to 4 years. 4 does look like a stick figure who is standing on one foot. So at 4 years, a child has the ability to stand on one foot, and it can also hop on one foot. Also, what will the child hop onto? Children love stairs, right? So at 4 years, a child can climb up and down a stair with one foot at a time. Also, imagine that the child is copying his pet dog and is, kind of lifting one leg over and urinating. So at 4 years, toilet training completes. At 2 years, you have start of toilet training. At 4 years, most of the children will complete toilet training. Also, at 4 years, a child will be able to draw things with four sides, that is, a square. And if you join the diagonals of a square, what do you get? A cross. So at 4 years, a child can copy a cross and copy a square as well. Now visualize this, this person sitting and crossing over his legs just in the form of a four. So at 4 years, a person can read a storybook and tell a storybook. So at 4 years, a child can tell stories, not read stories, but at least child can make up stories and tell very detailed stories at 4 years of age. And also at 3 years, you have parallel play. At 4 years, you have cooperative play. So now the children, while playing, will interact with each other. So maybe one child will say that I'll get the soil and you get the water and we'll make a mud cake. So at 4 years, we have cooperative play. Moving on to 5 years. Five looks like an S, does it not? So at 5 years, you have a child who can tie shoelaces. And when you're dressing, tying your shoes is the last thing that you'll do. So if a child is able to tie his shoelaces, he's also able to dress and undress himself or herself. Also, at 5 years, a child will be able to draw the most complicated figure of all, a triangle. So that's all the developmental milestones. Moving on to, at some of the ages, a child is able to stack a, certain number of cubes. So that's given by a crude formula, that is the age in years multiplied by 3. So at 1.5 years, a child will be able to stack 4 cubes on top of one another. At 2 years, a child will be able to stack 3 into 2, 6 cubes on top of one another. And at 3 years, a child will be able to stack 9 cubes. And, moving on to the language milestone. At 1 year, child says his first words that other than mama. And when does the child say mama for the first time? 9 months. Yes. At 2 years, a child will be able to say 2 word sentences, and only 50% of them are intelligible. At 3 years, 3 word sentences, and 75% are intelligible. 4 years, 100% intelligible. So at 2 years, 25 into 2 is 50. 3 years, 25 into 3, 75. At 4 years, 25 into 4, 100% intelligible speech. And what do you do when you have learned the alphabet? You move on to the next big thing, that is maths. At 5 years, child will be able to start counting, and then the child will be able to count at least up till 10. So all of the developmental milestones which we have studied till now, they're just a rough estimate of when a child should be able to perform certain activities. But these are not the upper limits at which you should be worried about the child. So child will be able to stand without support at 1 year. But it can take up till 17 months till a child is able to develop those skills. So if a child is not able to stand without support at 17 months, then you'll refer a child to a pediatrician. So when should you be worried about a child? Well, to know that, you have to understand the order in which a child acquires certain skills. So a child is able to stand with support, then the child is able to walk with support, then a child is able to stand without support, and then a child is able to walk without support. And these happen at 11, 14, 17, and 18 months respectively. So remember, 11, 14, and 17, 18. So if a child is not able to stand without support at 17 months, then you will intervene. And that's all the things I had to say. Thank you.